Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So if you don't know, please of course, we have memberships here, and please become a member. It's a great way to support the channel. And send me super thanks, it's a great way to send the support as well. Everything helps, every little bit helps. But we had big news. I just got home a little while ago. So I just posted this video late. Major changes to the Mets coaching staff, which is really needed. I felt for many years this I wasn't too happy about certain individuals that had been here a long time and they're gone. And well, let me get into it. Mets announced this a little while ago, or actually quite a while ago today. Pitching coach Jeremy Hefner, hitting coaches Jeremy Barnes and Eric Chavez, as well as third base coach Mike Sarbaugh, will not return in 2026. Bench coach John Gibbons has resigned. Catching coach Glenn Sherlock has announced his retirement. Assistant pitching coach Desi Drussel and bullpen coach Jose Rosado have been given permission to speak to other teams pending the selection of a new pitching coach. First base coach Antoine Richardson, strategy coach Danny Barnes, and coaching assistant Rafael Fernandez have been invited back for the 2026 season. Now, these guys could leave. They have a job. The last three guys, they have a job. Now, I would mention, talking about this, I don't take glee in seeing people lose their jobs. This is not what I want to see. I don't see anybody unemployed, but I've been sort of on Jeremy Hefner's case for many years. I was not happy with the job that he's been doing here. The last several years, this team has been leading the league in walks, leading the league and falling behind the count, leading the league in long innings for the Mets pitchers, and really shortened outings by the starters. And we've seen this, especially the last 2 years. There have been some good things here, but with the pitching, but there have been things that I've not been happy about for many years here, with him in particular. I'm a little surprised that Jeremy Barnes and Eric Chavez got let go, but this was a very inconsistent offense. When they were hot, couldn't get them out. But then, sometimes that inconsistency will get you in trouble, and got them in trouble. Mike Sarbaugh, who had a terrible year as third base coach, what's interesting, he's very close with Francisco Lindor, which I thought was interesting to let him go. And John Gibbons is gone, former 86 Met, he's gone. And Sherlock, I'm surprised that he left as well. But Hefner was the guy I was on the case of, because he is the most important. He's the most important guy that is on your staff. That's the guy, in terms of just your team. If you don't have a good pitching coach, you are going to be in a lot of trouble. A good pitching coach, he was not Mel Stottlemyre. I mean, that's really the ultimate answer here in New York, because he was the Mets pitching coach for many years. And he was the pitching coach for many years for the Yankees. Won tons of championships as a pitching coach. He did have a lot of talent, but he was able to work with that talent. Mel Stottlemyre was one of the all-time greats as a pitching coach. And of course, he was in Seattle too for a while. But Jeremy Hefner was no Mel Stottlemyre. Sorry. He was no Mel. I thought it was interesting that the media has been protecting him for all these years, when that position is the most important position in the entire coaching staff. More important than the bench coach, more important than the hitting coach. Everybody wants to fire the hitting coach. Guy goes over 5, fire the hitting coach. Guy goes over 10, fire the hitting coach. Guys go 2 for 20, fire the hitting coach. It's just the brain dead stupidity when the fans do that. But the pitching coach is more important. And if you don't have a strong pitching coach, your pitching is going to collapse. And that's what happened here. I don't know what he was teaching them. Sometimes it's the force behind it. Maybe he didn't have conviction. I don't know. I don't know what was happening. And obviously behind the scenes, how he interacted with his pitchers, who knows? But I'm not. And then I'm hearing things. I'm hearing some people. I saw Mike Puma suggested a couple of people. I guess the pitching coach for the Syracuse team. I would look somewhere else. Somebody with a track record. I also heard that J.P. Arcia was gonna. He's a candidate for the bench coach. I want a guy with experience here. I want a guy with experience, and it's also managed. And the reason I say I want a guy that has managed is in case this problem in case this Mets team gets off to a slow start next year, every Tom, Dick, and Joe Beningo, Frank Fleming assholes going to be calling for his job. So you better make sure you have a guy that's in place, that's been a successful manager somewhere, that can take over. Because if you have nobody, and this is what makes me nervous about bringing Mendoza back, we don't want to repeat 2007 going into 2008. Now, they're not doing that, because from 2007 to 2008, they didn't get rid of anybody on the coaching staff, as far as I can remember. I think maybe they brought in Hoja. I don't even remember. But they made very few moves, and the only big move they made in that offseason was bringing in Johan Santana, and that was it. But the fact that they did all this work, they completely demolished the coaching staff. Tells you everything you need to know about how they're looking at things behind the scenes. When you have a historic collapse, you cannot come back with the same group. And it's good to see that they didn't do that. But then, like I said, it makes me nervous bringing the manager back, but you have to bring in somebody into that clubhouse, onto that staff, that has tons of experience as a manager. A guy that's been successful. Because if you don't bring in a guy that's sitting there, at least if you need him in a pinch, you got to think forward. You can't be thinking backwards when it comes to these guys. When it comes to this situation, this is not like bringing a new manager and bringing in all these different people. When the team had a successful year, they got the postseason. This is a serious situation when it comes to Mendoza. So it's very important that you have somebody, either as the bench coach, the hitting coach, somewhere here that you can draw from that could be the manager and take over. Let's keep that in mind. It's very important. Now, I know this video is supposed to be about the coaches, but the managers is very important. Who will be that guy in this clubhouse in case shit happens? Because if this team gets off to a slow start next year, all we're going to be hearing about is Mendoza, get him out of here, get rid of him, he's terrible. Okay? And you have to think about, who do I want there in case there's a problem? Somebody could seamlessly take over and there wouldn't be any issues. So that's very important. That bench coach, which is probably who it would be, is probably going to be the second most important person going into the coaching staff. I was the pitching coach. But to go to the pitching coach, Mets have to find somebody and get these guys to throw fucking strikes. That's the problem. That's been the problem for 5 years. I was reading a lot of stuff from people online that are Met fans that don't understand. Like they look at things in a vacuum. They just look at things in the last 2 years. Hefner was not a guy that was very good. The result wasn't there. 2 years ago, the result wasn't there. Guys walk. The Mets were walking the ballpark. 8, 9, 10 walks a game. It's just insane. And the pitching coach doesn't take the hit. Now last year he didn't take the hit because they went to the postseason, but they were still walking batters like crazy. They were walking batters like crazy in the postseason. I'm surprised they went as far as they did against the Dodgers, based on the fact that they were walking batters like crazy. They had to find somebody that can tell them, look, the most important pitch you can throw is strike one. Strike one is the most important pitch. The first out is the most important pitch, and getting out of the first inning unscathed is the most important thing. First pitch is very important. First strike's important. Simple stuff. Simple philosophical things that need to be changed here. And hopefully they'll find somebody. There's plenty of good pitching coaches out there. But again, the second most important guy in this staff is who you're going to have as bench coach. I know Evan Roberts mentioned Willie Randolph. That's not a bad idea. Because Willie could take over, be the interim manager. I'm just saying, you can't close any avenue off. Or even Beltran on the staff. You can't have, and also you want to have a little pressure, with Mendoza in the background. He has to worry about that. Motivation is not a bad thing. But the Mets have to consider thinking about these things. Okay, especially since they kept Mendoza, you can't be without a backup. The reason that the things blew up in 2007 to 2008 and then completely fell apart is because they didn't have a backup plan, and their planning for the following seasons didn't help. 2008 into 2009, the best thing that Omar Minaya could do was bringing Francisco Rodriguez, and that was a disaster. You don't want to bring this player in to help. No, there's a big problem. If your team collapses twice in a row, there's a problem with the everyday players. Because it's an everyday process. These are the same players that play every single day. They have the most effect on your team, are your everyday players. Now, this Mets team's been together since 2019, 2020, 21, and we've seen the same kind of cycle. And you knew this was going to happen if they didn't break this group up. They probably would have broken this group up last year, but they went to postseason, and they carried it to the NLCS. But we're going to monitor this, obviously, here at the Baseball Hut, and this is the first good start. I'm very pleased with this. But again, and I don't want to see anybody lose their jobs, but some of these guys had to go. Hefner was the most important piece that had to leave. Just bring somebody else in here. Sometimes when you change the voice in the room, it changes everything. It does. Well, thank you for watching this video, and of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut, and I'll see you later.